Welcome to Empowered Heart to Heart, where you'll hear messages of hope, conversations that heal, and interviews that empower. Well, hey, this is Rhonda Simmons, and I am the founder and CEO of both the Simmons Empowerment Foundation as well as Rhonda L. Simmons, LLC. And I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Empowered Heart to Heart. I'm so glad you're here. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you like, comment, and share this video, and as well as subscribe so that you'll know every time when I post a video. You can also reach us on our social media platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Make sure that you reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. I am so excited today. Let me tell you, I keep saying it and it keeps being true that I have met some of the best people this side of heaven on this podcast, and you're about to meet another one today. I'm telling you, the interviews have been so rich. The information that we've learned about people's lives and their struggles has been amazing, and not only amazing, but helpful, because I believe that there are people listening and watching who are going through some of the same things that my guests have been through, and they're wondering, how do I ever get past this? How do I ever live beyond this? Well, I have someone here today who has been through so much. She is a survivor. She is a survivor, and I like to say a thriver. She didn't just get through it, but she has thrived past it and found a way to reach that place of healing. Our guest today was the victim of rape and other traumas, and she has been through so much, and she has found that place of healing to the point where she's now strong enough and healed enough to help somebody else. Isn't that what life is all about? Helping other people get through. So ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce to you my very special guest today, Miss Sue Bowles. Hello, Sue. How are you?
Rhonda, I am great. Been looking forward to this. Thanks for having me.
I am so glad that you're here with us to share your story. And so, Sue, as like I shared with our audience, you've been through so much. But what was the turning point for you to break the cycle of trauma in your life?
Yeah, and just real quick, I know you shared a little bit. I'm a childhood rape survivor. Happened when I was 7. I didn't tell anyone until I was 15 years later, my senior year of college. But even then, it really wasn't until 2014 that I hit what you call the breaking point. The pivot point is what I like to call it. I took a chance on love. It was the first year that I was really dealing with the rape and the trauma over 4 decades after it happened. And I had also developed an eating disorder. So my eating disorder was starting to kick in again. So I was just an absolute mess. And I was really hanging on. Twice in my life, I've considered ending my life. And I was just starting to implode because everything was happening at the same time. There was a movie that came out called Ragamuffin, and it's based on the life of the late Christian musician Rich Mullins. And it was a really hard watch because I just connected with it so much. And I had worn masks all my life because I painted the picture to everybody else that I was good. I was solid. I was your go-to gal. Sue had no problems. And I was dying on the inside. And that movie started breaking through my walls and helped me start kind of putting a small little tear in my masks. Later that year, the movie producer and the family and friends of Rich Mullins, who are all involved in the movie project, did a retreat and continued the conversation of the themes of the movie. And one of those themes was about forgiving yourself, about parent-child relationships, about the masks that we wear, and living authentically. And I don't know if you have a video of it, but for your listeners, behind me is a saying on my wall by Rich Mullins. And it says, it's not going to matter if you have a few scars. It will matter if you didn't live. And that's what I focus on now. But that retreat is now called Walking Stick Retreats. And I took a chance on love. I One of the staff members has since told me that they saw that first retreat for me as kind of a Hail Mary of, could God love me and was I lovable? Because I had bought the lie that I was too screwed up, too far gone, and a total waste of space. And there was absolutely no way God could ever love me or even use me. And that was the breaking point, was seeing that movie and taking a risk on love.
Wow. That is amazing. Oh my goodness. Wow. And yes, Rich Mullins' quote is on this video. It can be
Good.
seen.
Good.
And oh my goodness, I love how you put it, taking a risk on love and not feeling, you know, and not believing the lie that God can never love you, let alone use you. And here you are today.
Yeah.
So what made you, I mean, of course, your life story is amazing, and your journey is so inspiring, but how did you know that you were healed enough to help someone else heal?
It didn't happen overnight. And I'm not saying God can't heal overnight. That was not my case. I had so much trauma and so many scars that I had to do a lot. Actually, I had wounds that had not yet turned into scars. And you think of when you cut yourself, you cut yourself on your finger and you put a Band-Aid over it. If you are not treating the injury itself, putting antiseptic in it, washing it out, taking care of it, you could develop gangrene. And when you think of that, of the emotional scars and wounds that we have in our lives, I had not tended to them. I didn't know. When everything happened when I was 7 years old, rape was not on the radar. It was not something that was discussed. No one knew to ask a question. The only person who did anything wrong that day was my perpetrator. And even that I had to work through in counseling, because I was looking at what happened when I was 7 through an adult's mindset. And I was blaming myself for the decisions I made. And it took a lot of work for that. My healing happened over a course of time. For me, God speaks in language where he knows we're going to understand. For me, it's the language of retreat and music. So this walking stick retreats has been a very core part of my entire healing journey. The first year, I had to own my story. I was in denial about my story. I hated my story. And that first year, I just had to come to grips with what my story was. And that alone was a real challenge, because that meant I had to take off the masks that I had survived behind. I went back the next year and I had to grieve my story. I had to realize I had to let God off my hook, because that theme that year was the disappointing Messiah. And we learned that we see God as disappointing when he's not lining up with our expectations. And I had to grieve my story. And that alone was another huge challenge. And then the third year, the retreat, the nugget I walked away with was, I am valuable to God. And that was the pivot point for me. When I started, I had to do my work first. And as I started to do my work, then God's love kind of started seeping through all the little cracks and the fissures that were happening, that allowed him to penetrate my heart. That's when I started writing my book. And even through the course of writing the book is where I started realizing that my story has worth, and that my story could help somebody else. Now, that book writing was a journey itself. When I went into recovery from my eating disorder, I had to take a year off, because that's all I had energy for, was trying to figure out how to take care of myself and eat again. But that retreat is where God used that healing. And it has continued. There's been different things along the way. Everything that I've been through, and all the lies and all the scars and all the wounds, those wounds had to be tended to. So we had to rip the Band-Aids off them. And we had to get in there. And when you think of, if you have a burn, you're debriding the burn and debriding the wound. And that is painful. And everything is exposed. And that was what had to happen for me, was to get in there, pull off the Band-Aid, get through all the infection of life that led to all the lies I was believing. And then God could start to heal. A scar is a wound that has been healed. And until the hard work of healing is done, that painful work of debriding the wound and letting God in there to really do his work, until we do that, until we take that risk on love, until we dare to believe that we matter. Because that was what the turning point was for me, was in 2016 when I left that retreat and believing that I mattered to God, that I am valuable to God. That has now translated to daring to believe that I matter. And as that continued to grow, that is when everything started to change, to the point that we have launched a little over a year ago. Now it's already international, the Dare to Believe movement. So it's healing was slow and painful because it needed to be thorough.
So you started the Dare to Believe movement?
Yep.
And you're on my show.
Yeah. I got my hoodie on. See right there.
Yes, I saw the hoodie, but I didn't know that you were the rock and the force behind it. My goodness.
I call it Chief Instigator.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I love that, Chief Instigator.
But because instigators stir things up. And when you're challenging somebody to dare to believe that they matter, you're stirring up a lot in them. But it's the good stuff you're stirring up. The good stuff is usually hidden on the bottom. And you got to dig deep to get to that. And you got to stir up a lot of stuff to get to the bottom. So.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. I am even more honored to have you on my show. Oh, I feel so special. Thank you for counting my show worthy. Wow. Well, Sue, I understand you have a book out called I just went blank. What is the title of the book?
My book is called This Much I Know, The Space Between.
Yes.
And I'm also part of an anthology that's coming out January 18th called Breaking the Silence: Voices of Survivors.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. And the reason why I asked that question is because I looked it up on Amazon. If you're watching this on video, her book is on Amazon in both print form and Kindle. And so I'll put the link in the description as well of both the podcast and the YouTube. Get the book, people. Why do we have to suffer in silence when God has raised up people who have healed from the very things that we're facing, and they've written a book about it to help us? And so I'm all for it. Make sure you get Sue's book. Oh my goodness. So you have started this global movement, Dare to Believe, because I have heard of the what did you call it? Walking stick
retreats. Mm-hmm.
I have heard of that.
You have. That's great.
Yes. And I haven't been on one before, but please tell me, did you start that too?
No, I did not start that. No.
Okay.
I'm very committed to it. We do it twice a year for your listener and for yourself, Rhonda. Our next retreat is April 13th through 15th, I believe it is, that weekend in April, in Southwest Indiana. It's just like half mile outside of Louisville. And registration is now open. The fall 2023 retreat sold out, and we expect them to continue to sell out. So registration's open now. Get in there now before you have to be on a wait list. Wow. It is going to be powerful.
Wow. So these walking stick retreats are, it sounds like they're very therapeutic. It's not just about the walking.
No, it is about the whole concept. I have my stick over there of the walking stick is because you have help on the journey. And it is all about being help on the journey. We're a community. We love having new people. We probably have 10 to 15 new people every time. And we absolutely love that because we want to grow and learn. And we do some small group work. There's a lot of individual time. There's there's group teachings and workshops and seminars all around the theme. They have not released the theme for April 2024 yet. This past year, they did consider this the royal priesthood, and did part 1 and part 2, part 1 in the spring, part 2 in the fall. And it's just been absolutely powerful stuff. And like I said, for me, God knows that and I'm going to hear him through the language of retreat. And they intentionally try to keep it small so they have a great staff to participant ratio.
Yes, yes. And I love the fact that God is so much a part of your journey. On my podcast, I'm a Christian. In fact, I'm an associate pastor. Nice. And, I don't make it a requirement you know, for people on the podcast to be Christian. But when I come across someone who is, that just makes my heart sing. And I'm just so glad to see how far you've come. Oh my goodness, what a blessing. What a blessing.
To that point, in 1991, my parents were divorcing after 34 years of marriage. And this is before I started my healing journey. I was imploding. I was not doing well. Quite frankly, I was very, very close to considering ending my life again. That was the second time when I was considering ending my life. And there were two thoughts keeping me in the game. The first, I could have discharged if I had really tried. And it was simply my family. I was logical enough to know my family did not need to go to my funeral in the middle of the divorce. But beyond that, the second thing, the greater thing that kept me in the game was what I call nagging optimism. There was something telling me it was going to be okay. And that was my relationship with Christ. I had just come to Christ in 1985. I was a very young believer. But there was enough of that to keep me in the game. So here we are, 2023, almost 2024 now. We lost mom October 2020. We lost dad coming up on a year, December 27th, 2022, we lost dad. And I had 2 surgeries in 11 months in between there. So it's been a really rocky 3 years when you throw COVID in between there as well. And yet that relationship with Christ has been the consistent. It allows me to laugh. It allows me to celebrate. It allows me to, as we say, find our bowl's way of still coming out of the garbage and still finding a way to rise over it and to be able to keep moving and to do it with laughter and to do it with love and remembrance and honor and respect, and to know that we are honoring our parents as we continue to do the things they taught us to do. But that the relationship with Christ is key to that, or I don't know that I would be here without it.
Amen. Amen. Oh my goodness. Well, Sue, when you talk about optimism, you're right in my wheelbarrow, because it is so easy to ruminate over the past.
Mm-hmm.
It is so easy to view yourself today in the shadow of yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
But I like looking forward, and that's why the series is called Dear Future Me, because I love looking forward. And so my question to you as we wrap up is, if you were to write a letter today to your future self, what would you say?
I'm going to tear up because what I would say to myself is what I didn't believe and that I own and thrive in now, and firmly believe that this is the key to everything for people's lives. Do you believe that you matter? Not does somebody else believe it for you. How do we answer that question? So what the letter I would write to myself would say, Dear Sue, you matter. It does not. Whatever has happened and everything that has happened is significant and has affected you and hurts and has harmed you and is worthy of grief. And you still matter. Surround yourself with even one person who can hold out hope for you until you're strong enough to hold it for yourself, because that day will come. Take a risk on love. Find someone. Risk letting somebody in, and they will hold out hope for you and hold on to hope for you and help you grow in your strength, where you will one day, hopefully sooner than later, be able to hold it for yourself. Love, Sue.
Oh my goodness. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Sue, it has been my esteemed honor to have you on my show today. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for thriving and surviving to this day so that even more people could hear your story, because my podcast goes global. I have people downloading episodes all over the country, all over the world, in different countries. And someone needed to hear that today. Thank you for being a part of their journey. And I pray that God continues to use you in the Dare to Believe movement, and that your book will sell exponentially, not for the financial gain of it, but for the mere joy of knowing that you've helped somebody. Thank you so much for being on the show. And if you will just hang out just for another minute, I'm going to wrap things up and I'll be right with you. Okay?
That sounds great. And just real quick, Ron, if I could, if people want to get in touch, they can reach me at SueBowles.com, and they'll find links there to the book. And then I mentioned the other book coming out January 18th. I'll have a link to that as well, and they can reach out to me there and connect with everything else. They'll also find the link to the Dare to Believe movement website on that page as well.
All righty. So SueBowles.com. Did I get it right?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All righty. And so make sure you reach out to Sue. She's anxious and excited and waiting to help you. So thanks again, Sue, for being on our show. We really appreciate you. And I pray that God continues to use you in your ministry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my goodness. My heart is full today. You know, when I put out a call for speakers, you never know who you're going to get. And I certainly did not know I was getting such, what's the saying, creme de la creme, the cream of the crop. Oh my goodness, Sue Bowles was here. You heard her here and you heard her story. Now, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to take her testimony and her journey to triumph and apply it to your life? There's a reason why you downloaded this episode or you watched this video. I believe that God wanted you to hear something that Sue had to say so that he can heal you. Healing is possible. Healing is available. Go to SueBowles.com and check out the resources there. Get her book on Amazon, This Much I Know, The Space Between. She's got another book coming out soon, an anthology. Make sure that you are tapping into these resources that God has put into place to bless and heal you. So until the next time, I'm Rhonda Simmons. Thank you for joining us today. Be blessed, be encouraged, and most of all, be empowered.